Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the webinar. This is co-hosted by EssentialSkillz and ourselves, EHS. Today, we're going to be chatting around the 5 benefits of integrating your health and safety software and your training system. So we're going to talk about the EssentialSkillz learner management system and training, and then we're going to talk about how that links into the Engage EHS platform and some of the benefits we can see around that. So we have on the line Julian.
Good morning. How are you, Dara?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you very much. Very good.
Good,
Working
good.
from home, like the rest of us, I presume, unfortunately.
Well, absolutely, in these rather unusual times, but it's a beautiful, glorious, sunshiny day in North Wales, so it's not a bad place.
No, we'll take the little things, I think, isn't it? Take the little things and be happy with those while we can, right?
Absolutely, and obviously to everybody out there who's joined us today, keep yourselves safe and stay well and keep yourselves isolated. Absolutely,
absolutely. Hopefully we'll get through this in the fastest time possible.
Indeed, absolutely. So, yes, good morning. Welcome, everybody. So we'll probably do our introductions, Dara, shall we? So if we move on to the next slide. Oh, there we go. We've got that one first. So we'd love to have some questions from you during the presentation. So anything you want to ask at any point, just click the Q&A button, add your question in there. We've got a team of people who'll be there trying to screen the questions for you. Any great questions that come through that they think actually they would rather Dara and I try and answer for you, then they'll actually interrupt us and ask us the question live on the webinar, and then we'll have a good crack at trying to answer that for you, hopefully if it's not too tricky. So please do ask as many questions as possible during the webinar, and we'd love to have your interaction throughout the whole thing. So probably do introductions now, I should think. Then that's probably the next page, is it? Let's have a look.
Yeah, it is.
There we go. That's me.
It's you.
That is me. So I'm Julian Roberts. I've worked in the governance, risk and compliance industry for over 18 years. It says all this on the screen there. You can probably see it for yourself. So I have worked with a number of large blue chip organisations. I've helped them integrate e-learning systems. I've helped them deploy training systems and people risk reduction systems across their businesses. And that's really what we do as a business, is we provide people risk reduction systems. And you might kind of wonder what that is. Well, it's a way of providing information out to people, making sure those people have read and understood that information, making sure that we can assess personal risk on people as well for things like DSE and lone working and home working as well, obviously, in these important times. We can push information out to people, again, home working, things like that are always, again, important in these particular times. And then also we can check that people have got full understanding of this information. And we can do the same things with documents, things like that as well. So once we've pushed all this information out to the people, we can then use our system to then check compliance across those people and just see how compliant we are and try and help reduce the risk across the business for those people. So we are very much about reducing the risk for people across your business. Not just an e-learning company, we're an awful lot more than that. And we save companies huge amounts of money by providing these cost-effective and time-saving and risk reduction solutions, obviously. So that's me, that's what we do. I'll pass over to Dara to introduce themselves.
Yeah, very good. So yeah, I'm Dara, I'm the CEO with Engage EHS. So yeah, from in terms of what we do in Engage, obviously it's a EHS platform, so we look at managing that safety and risk across the business, from incident management, risk assessments, auditing, inspections, checklists, plant and assessments, and obviously training as well. But from our side, training for us is really a compliance measurement. So we're saying, are people trained? When does it have to be repeated? And we track that. So we do scheduling, we do tracking of compliance, we do management of that data. And obviously we've seen huge benefits working with the guys here in EssentialSkillz of when they're pushing out that content, pushing out those courses and capturing all that information, we can feed that into the Engage EHS platform. And then really from our side, where we see huge benefits for our customers using that is now pulling that data into everything else that we do. So into our incident reports, into investigations, into method statements, into contractor portals, things like that, where we can now really automate that flow of information and combine both face-to-face training records and e-learning records. So yeah, hopefully we can talk about a lot of benefits there for our customers. So I've been in some form of safety management for the last probably 18, 20 years as well. Last 10 years CEO of Engage and driving that forward. So looking forward to go through today.
Just a little thing to mention whilst we're on that screen still as well, Dara, is that you've obviously got some of your customers up there, and we already collaborate as two businesses with a number of customers across both of our customer bases.
Yeah.
So we do work very closely together, and we try and work as a partnership to ensure that our customers can get a full integrated end-to-end solution, so that they don't have to compromise on a solution that can do some of the things that both of our systems do partially. Well, actually, Dara's system is designed specifically to do exactly what it does. This is an extremely efficient, extremely good system at doing this, and is one of the best ones on the market, if not the best on the market. And likewise for us, our system is designed to do exactly what it achieves. So neither system is a compromised system, and by bringing the two together, we're able to provide a really best of both worlds piece of information or solution for businesses out there.
Yeah, I think, from all those early conversations we've had through to now, we've all said, we want to focus on our core business. We want to make sure that we're developing those best-in-class solutions and work together then to give our customers the best possible solutions they can through integration. And I think that's where we thrive. Just before we go on to this one, I will say we also have Sean O'Sullivan on the line. He didn't get a slide, sorry, because he was a bit late to the party, so we didn't put a slide up there. But Sean is CTO with Effective with Engage. I keep calling it Effective because we were for 10 years and we just rebranded. So Sean is CTO with Engage, and he'll be running us through the actual integration there in a few minutes as well. So Sean's on the line as well.
Hello.
Hello, Sean. So speaking of collaborating together, Dara, quite neatly segues us straight onto our collaborative organisation slide, which is quite nice. Yes. So if we can just bring up the first bullet point, that would be excellent.
Yeah, so I suppose, look, when we talk about some of these things, shared goals, they're an essential part of any collaboration effort. And when we look at what we're doing together, we want to try and make sure that we're focused on those goals for our customers, that we're helping our customers achieve those goals, that we're giving them tools to set those goals themselves internally and work with our systems to drive that in terms of operational excellence. So, when we talk about working together, I think it works on multiple levels, both as our partnership with Essential and Engage, but also then working with our customers to drive those goals and to make sure that they're achieved in the best in class, as you said, kind of approach. So it's something that we're kind of very passionate about in driving those forward.
Absolutely. And for the organisations we work with, it's kind of important they step back a little bit and try and identify what those internal shared goals are first as well. That's kind of your first step on the journey, because you've really got to understand what your problem is, what you're trying to solve, and then work out as an organisation how you can all work together to try and start to resolve that issue. And again, that's what we can do as systems, is then once we've identified those problems, is put the systems in place and then put all the structure around that to try and help you resolve those issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, should we have a look at the next bullet point?
So yeah, so when we talk about, I suppose, cross functions and skill sharing, you have those shared goals, you have departments kind of working together. It's easier to collaborate across departments, and I suppose now more than ever, we're probably realizing the importance of online collaboration as well. So being able to access information remotely and being able to work, from various different locations and not have to go down to an office block or to a storage unit to find some information relating to key things in your business. And I think that's important for all of us to understand. So being able to share information across departments, being able to work collaboratively, and being able to give people access online to be able to see that information instantly and not have to be a roadblock or a conduit of that information to your organization, opening that up to everybody, I think is a hugely important step in terms of digitization and operational excellence really in the world today.
Absolutely. And again, by kind of doing this collaborative thinking thing, we can get this across the business to make sure that everybody within the business is understanding what that shared goal is and starting to collaborate around that. Then you've got a series of skills across your business that you can then pull together to use to try and achieve the shared goal. So all of a sudden everybody is in this together rather than you've got individuals trying to achieve their own goals. By using that cross-functional skill sharing, you're actually bringing everybody's abilities together to try and achieve that same one goal. I know that sounds like a bit of waffle, but it is actually you're trying to achieve out of all this, is making sure that you're working as one unit, not a series of separate units across your business.
We'd never think you were waffling, Julian. No, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think, obviously then we have to look at the sort of innovation as we go forward and kind of looking at, what we can do in terms of, identifying the problems and challenges within the organization and how do we approach that. And, certainly from a training perspective and having that information, knowing who has the skill sets to drive certain areas forward or who you can rely on. So having that information available, where those unique resources and skill sets are across the business, again, help people identify who they should be talking to, who they need. And from a compliance point of view, obviously it's important that we see that as well. and having that information across the business.
Absolutely. Just a quick thing, Dara. Somebody just mentioned in the chat there that if each of us can mute ourselves when we're not talking, because we're getting a bit of an echo, I think, that's popping.
Oh, no problem at all.
But I was just going to add to that point there as well, that when you've got lots of people working together like this, when you've got people sort of collaborating and you've got different skill sets coming in there, this is what sparks innovation. This is what sparks new ideas. And then all of a sudden you can find you're actually developing new solutions that you hadn't thought about previously, again, to achieve the shared goal. So that overall collaboration, that overall skill sharing does lead to that, that spark of innovation that all of a sudden comes across those teams, because everybody, again, is working towards one simple shared goal. And it's in everybody's best interest if we actually get to that shared goal. So innovation will help them do that. That's my waffle bit over there. What was the next point?
Absolutely. And yeah, so then I suppose one of the things that we're both, obviously very passionate about in terms of what we do is driving that data element and giving that information in terms of analytics to businesses. So I think, obviously, you can only improve what you can measure. So if you can't see it, you can't improve it, or it's very hard to do so. So I think making sure you have access to that information, making sure you have access to the data, getting the understanding of where the gaps are within the business and being able to understand the time lag perhaps in training, the exposure you have in terms of non-compliance. All of these things are driven from better data within your system. So from your completions, from your LMS side, right through to your compliance checks and your expiries and renewals and refreshers on training. I mean, having that information to hand gives you more powerful tools to be able to run your business better. So I think that data-driven approach gives people, a true insight into what's going on in the business and some real tools to make it better.
Absolutely. And again, by having that data there in real time, you're able to action things in real time. So rather than having a series of spreadsheets all over the place, a series of bits of data everywhere that you've got to try and collate together to try and find your reporting information, and perhaps you're doing that monthly or quarterly for meetings or for trying to action things. Well, actually, you've got this in real time now. You can look at this on a day-to-day basis. So you are actually on the curve. You're not behind the curve all the time, which is where you are if you're not doing this in real time. And that data-driven approach across the whole organization means that you are actioning things much quicker. You're a much more lean organization. You're more efficient in what you're doing, which then obviously will give you a competitive advantage as well. You're able to react quicker and make sure, from both Dara and I's perspective, that your business is safer, that you're reducing risk in a more efficient way across your business by having this real-time data to hand every single day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, rather, I suppose, with as we look at those benefits, we don't want to kind of repeat ourselves as we go through. So we might actually go on to the next slide and just talk about that. But, when we talk about real-time data as you have and visibility and accountability, I think all of that comes through into the real benefits of what we're trying to achieve. So if we pop onto the next slide and really talk about that integration piece, I think, what we're trying to deliver across for those customers is that real-time information. So we're looking at, being able to make those speedier decisions, being able to have the information to hand, being able to get those key metrics in one place so you don't have to start working between different systems to start pulling that out. And I think that's hugely valuable when you're talking about driving optimization in your business and driving that those better insights. Being able to do that without that data lag and without that time lag and without having to have manual intervention is a huge benefit.
Absolutely. And again, it's about having that information to hand right now, all the time, and making sure that's up to date. And I think we might actually come to this at another point. So if I'm going to repeat what should be said later on, then my apologies. But again, this is the beauty of integrating two systems together, is that we haven't got a time lag between those two systems. So if you're manually pushing data from one system to another, you might be getting spreadsheets, you might be doing whatever to actually push information into a second system. Well, there's a time lag there. There's also a potential for human error within that process as well. But by doing a full integration, then all of a sudden you've got that information coming across in real time. So you've got one central reporting station that you can look at and know that that information is correct. You haven't got to cross-reference back into something else. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And look, like it says here, that gives you better analysis. Talked about optimized business processes. I think when you take all of that together, it's really, really about business optimization. It's about, operational excellence. It's about giving you that visibility and the functions to do these things in a better way. And I know you'd probably see the same thing and sort of from pain points from customers, and we would, where it's dealing with paper. We've got all these records on Excel. We've got disparate systems tracking this. We've got different sites tracking different information. There's different quality levels between those different areas. So bringing all that together, giving the analysis and the operational excellence around it, I think really just lifts up your your potential in terms of how you can operate in that training function and safety function.
Absolutely, 100%. And also, I mean, if you think about having that data spread about all over the place as well, so you've got spreadsheets here and there, you've got Word documents, you've got various different people collating this information, trying to hold it, and then pushing that centrally. You've got data flowing all over the place, which again is then a potential risk for the business, because you are increasing the risk of data breaches across the business constantly by having these separate spreadsheets all over the place, people emailing data across to other people to collate it together to create reports. So it's really, really important to be able to say, well, actually, we can reduce this down. We can actually simplify this whole process. We can simplify the whole system of pushing data around and make sure that actually we've got as little human intervention within that process as possible, which reduces down the risk of human error, which is usually where the problems actually lie.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when we talk about that, I think and this is obviously something that we're all very aware of as well, and very attuned to, is really focusing on, you know, that improved security as well. So you talk about potential GDPR breaches and all of that information flowing around in paper and spreadsheets. So again, having this automated, having the systems linked and secure data transfers, you know, encoded data transfers working behind the scenes means you've got less kind of potential chinks in the chain and breakpoints. So you've got a lot more visibility to how your kind of whole process works in terms of security and locking it down.
Exactly. And again, just I'm sort of jumping back a point here, but about the better communication across your business as well. Now, if you've got a shared collaborative environment where you can actually see across a number of systems, this is your data, you've got people communicating better across your business. You've got a better insight across the whole business as to who's doing what and where the information is shared. So you're going to get better decision making out of that. So again, it sounds like a bit of a waffly point, but again, it's important because you've got the whole business working together rather than siloed departments trying to complete their own tasks and then finding that actually sometimes we're working at odds or we're not working to the same goal or whatever it might be.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a question in there for the panelists from Dawn McLean, which is, can you import historic data?
I think from both systems, I'd say you can. Certainly from a compliance point of view, we have all the import tools there to suck information in for historical data of training into the training compliance information. So yeah, when we're setting up customers, we would pull in all the historical data. We would create basically your training matrix there with the history of all the previous trainings and the next expiries. So from our point of view, the system would start working day one for you to track all that. So you might have 10 different Excel spreadsheets. We can bring them all together, pull them on the system, and now you've got that visibility of that, you know, training compliance element. And obviously then working with EssentialSkillz, we can plug in the data for all that LMS work that you know, is going to be there in the future.
And from our perspective, what Dara just said. So yeah, we can do the same, exactly the same from our side. But again, we probably wouldn't need to. We'd need to, I guess, do it from one side or the other and then just push the data across again. Well, again, a lot of this is about trying to reduce down replication of tasks. Why do things twice when we can do it once and then let the software do the hard work? But yeah, from both sides, that's entirely possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Julian, do you want to kind of run us through maybe the process of maybe how things work from EssentialSkillz? If we run people through the start and then onto Effective from there.
I would love to. Okay, so I'm just going to run you through a little process of how the data flow works within our system and try and put a little bit of meat on the bone, really, because I know we've talked quite conceptually up to this point, and it's quite hard to probably visualize how all this actually works and what it means. So what I'm going to just do is quickly show you an employee's journey, so a new employee starting with the business. So I've got a new employee starts today. And then what will happen is that new employee gets added to your HR system. Or it could be a HR system, it could be a payroll system, but it's a place where you've got a centralized body of your employee base. So wherever you're storing your employee data. So once that user is then added to the HR system, what will happen then is that we will do a nice little data feed. So a data feed will come down to our system. So that's a secure data feed. We can do it in a number of different ways, but basically it's a secure data feed. And this is an automated process. So again, it's trying to not replicate procedures. And it's also trying to have one centralized place where you're holding your employee data so that while our system is actually acting as a slave to another system. Now, if we're unable to make that connection, that's fine, because sometimes customers don't have a full HR system which has all of the data in there. We can still do this by imports. But this this is our ideal world, because we are talking about integration. What we really should be doing, if we can, is integrating with another system. So the employees started, added to the HR system, they come down in the data feed, and then they will then pop across into our system. So in our system, so we are now in the WorkWise system from EssentialSkillz, and what will happen is that user is automatically created inside our system. Once that user is automatically created inside our system, we will then create an auto enrollment for that person. Now, if we just click forward one more segment on the circle, because these two pieces go together. So that auto enrollment will enroll that person on the courses that are relevant to their job role or the grouping, or however you deem that person to be grouped with other people. So let me try and give you an example. So say this person is working in an office. So you might have a common training requirement for anybody who is an office-based worker. So that might include some face-to-face training. It might include some e-learning courses. It might include a DSE risk assessment. It might include some policies they need to sign off on. So what our system can then do is automatically, based on the role that person has or the grouping they're in, enroll them on the courses that are relevant to them as an employee. So straight away, we're starting the process of trying to make sure that that employee, when they receive this through, isn't thinking, well, what on earth's all this? None of this makes any sense, and it doesn't really apply to my role. Well, it does. It applies specifically to your role. And again, this has happened automatically. So if we just move to the next segment there, what the system will then do is it will then email out to that employee to say, welcome, here's your login details, and then it will start the process of sending out a series of reminder emails to that employee if they don't start to complete the items that we've asked them to complete. So again, this has all happened automatically. So far, an administrator or anybody has not touched anything inside the system. So if we just move on one segment there again, what then we can do is the employee using single sign-on, if we have it in place. If we don't, then they can just log in, fine, that's okay. But again, it's integration, so if we can use single sign-on, that would be the ideal. So the employee single signs on into the WorkWise system, and then they complete their course. Now, once they've completed their courses, what will happen is the system will update to say, oh, brilliant, you've completed that course, therefore I can say you are a compliant person. If they don't complete that course, then we go back to the reminders that keep coming out, and a reminder will come, and a reminder will come, and a reminder will come. Now, what we also do within the system is we set a timescale for that employee to complete that section of training. If they don't complete the courses or the training elements or whatever they may be within that period of time, the system will take the training or whatever it is away, and it will give it back to them again, and it will record that in the back end of the system. Now, again, this is really important for compliance, and particularly around compliance subjects like health and safety subjects and potentially things like GDPR and things like that. So what we're able to prove is that the business has offered training to the employee. What we're also able to prove, if that employee isn't taking the training, is the number of times that we've offered the training to that employee, and also the emails that have been sent out to try and engage with that employee and push them to do something. So again, the idea is that as a business, you are doing your very best to try and keep your staff safe. You're trying to push training out to them that's relevant to them, and you're asking them to do this repeatedly on an ongoing basis. It is also the staff members' responsibility to engage back with the business. They need to actually do this as well. They have a responsibility and a legal responsibility to actually do this as well. So we're trying to do this from two sides. Now, whilst all this process is going on, what's also happening out of the system is there are emails going out to managers, and they're saying to the manager, now, you've potentially got people who are non-compliant in your area of responsibility. So then we're pushing the manager to say, actually, you need to push from your side as well as the system pushing from its side to try and get these employees to engage. So we're driving and driving and driving the compliance all the time to get the compliance levels up, which is really, really important. Now, the reason this is set in a complete circle like this is that this process is ongoing. So once we've completed this first set of enrollments for this employee, it may be that you want some courses repeated on a 6 monthly basis. It may be there's a policy needs signing off once every 18 months, and then maybe there's some ILTs that need doing every 9 months, whatever it might be. The system will then automatically set up periodic re-enrollment for these people. So at the correct periodicity in the future, they will then be re-enrolled back onto the relevant courses or the relevant training elements, whatever they may be, and this process will start again. So this just sits spinning round and round and round and round and constantly trying to push the employee to actually complete some training. As an administrator of the system, all you need to do is come in and look at your compliance and just say overall, well, for any part of the business, how compliant are we? But more importantly, how compliant are we not? And what our system does very succinctly is focus on the negative. We're always trying to find the gaps and find out where the risks for your business are, because those are the bits that will trip you up. So it's great that loads of people have completed the training, and it's great that loads of people have signed off the policies. The key thing for all of us is who has not, because that's where the risk for the business lies. And that's potentially where we have accidents and where we have near misses and where we have incidents. So we're always pushing for that. And then right at the back end of the process there, every time somebody completes that course, then we pass across to engage, which is probably a perfect time for me to stop on a very long and pass over to Dara.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you, Julian. And yeah, like you said, in the background, everything then kind of works across here to engage. So once those completions come through, they're going to work their way onto the Engage platform. And we have Sean, our CTO, who has been responsible for kind of developing out this integration on the line, who's going to talk us through all of that. Hello, Sean.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are.
I'm going to grab control of the screen here, and then I'm going to share my screen. There we go. I'm the host, and now I need to share. And it's not letting me. Hang on.
And we even practiced this beforehand and it all worked. It's typical. There we go.
How's that better?
That's better. We see the slides at the minute rather than the web. Yeah,
okay.
Slides.
So in case those of you on the line are afraid this webinar will never end, this is going to be pretty short. So I'm Sean O'Sullivan, I'm the CTO. The purpose of this bit is to give you a look at the integration between EssentialSkillz and the Engage platform in action, just if you want to see what's involved in it. The good news with something like this, with these kind of integrations, is that if it all works and if everything is working, basically there's nothing to see. So that kind of shapes how we do this demo. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a bit more detail. So let's just give you a bit of info first of all. So this integration, just to give you a feel for it in terms of how real it is, it's live and in production right now. Julian mentioned we have a couple of mutual customers who've been using this for the last couple of months. So we introduced this during Q1 this year. And we've got a couple of customers, as I say, who've been live and working on this, giving us feedback. Feedback is very positive. And we've got a queue of a couple of other mutual customers, some of you may be on the line, who are going to be switched on with this integration. And then it's open for business. So in a nutshell, what does it do? Basically, we connect the two platforms together. And the purpose of connecting the two platforms is to let the Engage platform automatically update its compliance status. That's it. So what we're trying to do is, without you having to do anything, generate files to import and run imports and all that kind of fun stuff which you may be used to do, or typing it in. The Engage platform is authorized to reach in to the EssentialSkillz platform, retrieve training activity, and then update the status back in the Engage side, so that we should always be daily up to date with training activity. That's what it does. In terms of pictures, you can think of it this way. On the left-hand side is the Engage platform, right-hand side EssentialSkillz, and they give us a way to reach into their system. It's called an API, and we can reach into their system, suitably authorized in a secure fashion, and retrieve certain information if everything is configured properly. So there's a couple of things I'm going to show you. What I did was I recorded just a really short video. I'm going to talk over this video as we go through. There's, as I say, when this is all working, there's really not a whole lot to see. So what I'm actually going to do is we'll take a quick peek at both systems. That's partly because those on the line, some of you may be familiar with the Engage platform, some of you may be familiar with the EssentialSkillz platform, some of you may be familiar with both, and some of you may have never seen any of this before. So we're just going to give you a real quick look at both. And then I'll show you what's involved in setting it up, because the only work that really happens here is when you set this stuff up for the first time. We've tried to make that as simple and automated as possible. And then once it's set up, we're going to show you just what a compliance update happening. which, as I say, is the idea is when this is up and running for our customers who are using it right now, they come in every day, and inside in EssentialSkillz, their training activity takes place, as Julian walked through there. And back in Engage, essentially the training compliance matrix just self-updates, and they can get on with their day's work, and that's the purpose of this stuff. So, unless there's any questions in the meantime, I'll dive into a little demo. So here's a little video that hopefully you can see, and I'll set that running. So right now you're in the Engage platform, and we have some very famous people that we've added for this demo purposes to show you this working. So this is our employee profile. So we've got a couple of people here, Marion, Mr. Fassbender, and Reese Witherspoon, and they're all just people in the org chart over here in the Engage platform. So if we jump into our training module, you can see right now we've no training modules. We call them modules, courses set up over here. Then we jump into EssentialSkillz. So EssentialSkillz in this case is where all the action is happening. This is where the actual training happens. So we have the same people will be represented, as Julian mentioned, in the EssentialSkillz system. So you can see Marion, Michael, and Reese in there. And if I jump over to the courses, you can then see we've got a couple of categories of courses. Surviving working from home, there's a topical one, and a few others. So I've got a bunch of courses in here. Some are instructor-led training, that's the ILT type, and some are the SCORM compliant courses that the EssentialSkillz platform supports. So that's our current setup. So here we are in the initial setup for the learning management system. So the first thing we do is we test the connection. So some magic goes on behind the scenes to check that our platform is allowed to connect to your account in EssentialSkillz. And our helpful little tour guide here says everything looks great. And here I'm just going to walk you through real quick how this thing works. So our little tour guide in here just shows you that we're going to show our courses, local courses, on the Engage side on the left-hand side. Over on the right-hand side, we're going to show the EssentialSkillz courses that we can see in your account over in EssentialSkillz. And obviously the point of this thing is to somehow connect local course to remote course, or say that you want those remote courses reflected back in Engage. Remember, the purpose from the Engage side is we want to see those courses back in the Engage platform. So here, I'll just pause this for a second. Right now, the status is that on my left-hand side, Engage, I don't have any local courses set up because I'm in the setup process here. And over the right-hand side, we've discovered these 17 remote courses with all their different types. And as you see little tick boxes, little spaces for ticking them, we can decide which ones we'd like to have reflected back in Engage. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pick 3 of the courses to link with the Engage platform. And we'll come back over here and I'll pick those courses. So I'm going to pick kind of a fire safety basic and first aid overview, I think. And then I'm picking one of the working from home ones up near the top. Creating a good work from home daily routine. And I say import. So we get the nice little graphic of the actual connections between the courses on the left, which is on the Engage side, and the course on the right, which is the EssentialSkillz side. So it's worth mentioning all of this stuff I'm doing here, this is kind of a one-time only deal. So this is what happens at the very start when you're setting this up. And even more good news, typically you won't have to do this yourself. Our amazingly efficient and professional customer success team will actually walk you through that and do it for you. So I'm going to pause this real quick here. So now we've connected the 2 systems. You can see that I can see 2 categories of courses, the surviving working from home training and the health and safety training, now in the Engage platform. And the whole point of this thing, you can see these 2 little modules here on the left. So we've pulled those from the EssentialSkillz platform, and now you can use them like you would any other modules set up inside the Engage platform. So we can share them around the org chart, or we can decide that we have a compliance requirement for some of these courses on the people in the org chart. And that's really the core of what we're trying to enable here. All of that I just showed you is really the setup bit. As I say, it's kind of a 5-minute thing. You do it one time, and once you're done, you're done. Then you're on to the meat of what you'd like to do, which is actually managing compliance. So here I'm taking Marion and Michael, and we are setting a compliance requirement for 2 of the courses, Fire Safety Basic and First Aid Overview. Again, for those of you not familiar with this, we're inside the Engage platform right now, and they're showing up red right now because the Engage platform knows about the courses but doesn't know anything about their history of activity, of their training activity, which happens inside the EssentialSkillz platform. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to set a couple of little compliance requirements, one on Reese, and I set the other 2 on Marion and Michael. And what we'll do is this integration runs every night automatically, but we've added a little button here for this demo so we can run it manually. And we did that deliberately just so you can see a little update happen on the org chart. So Reese, as it turns out, and we'll look at this in a second, hasn't done her good working from home course, and therefore she remains non-compliant. But if we go over here, back into EssentialSkillz, go to the user, dig out Reese, look at her training record, we'll see she ain't done nothing. So her compliance is correct. But if we look to 2 of our best pupils in the class, Michael and Marion, we should see for their training that they are compliant. And again, if we jump back into EssentialSkillz, guess what? We'll have a look at their training record, and we'll see that they indeed have taken those training courses. So we'll jump in there in a second, take a quick look at them. So you get the idea. The idea is really from the Engage side, that compliance will reflect the truth of what training has happened, and the truth, the system of record for the actual training activity is the EssentialSkillz platform. It owns the truth of what training has been going on and who's taken what course. So here we're in Marion's, and you can see she's taken her training. Very good. So that's the basics of how the integration works, and that's a really quick look at both platforms. If you've never seen them before, none of that may make any sense, but hopefully you get some idea of the fact that we're connecting the 2 of them. One of the other things, the very last thing for this demo that's important to give you a quick look at, is that when something runs automatically, we're very conscious, anytime we do an integration like this, you need to leave a trail of what you did behind, so that all sorts of people who are suitably authorized could look at that trail to figure out what happened. So first of all, if you as a user log into the system one day and look at the compliance and go, I don't know if that's right, then you may want to find out, well, what actually happened. So there's a couple of things we do about that, but here real quick is one example. When the compliance integration does its thing and runs every evening, and we on the Engage side reach into the EssentialSkillz platform, figure out what training activity has happened and reflect any changes back on the Engage side, we create an email that tells you what we did. So you always have this as a record that will get sent to staff that you nominate. And there's a blizzard of information in here that I don't have to beat you over the head with right now. But the idea is that if you look at a compliance dot and go, why is that orange? Or should that not be red? Or should it have turned green? You can at least have a trail to go back and say, well, here's what I did. And you'll get a fairly comprehensive bit of information that will help you understand what happened and when it happened. So with that, I'll stop at that point. That's the quick tour of the whole thing in action. As I say, a couple of customers live, and ideally when it's all working, as the existing customers have experienced, there's nothing to see except freshly updated compliance magically updating in the system.
That's very impressive. It's when you get to actually see the whole thing in action, it looks wonderful, doesn't it? It really does. And again, hopefully, I can see everybody out there has also been very engaged with that, which is brilliant as well. So, Dara, are you still there?
I am still here, indeed. Yes.
There we go. We've got our wrap up coming up now. So I think marketing team are just going to present the wrap up slides, are they?
Yeah, I think the general piece is, look, if anyone's interested, we'll be sending out the recording of the webinar if people want it. I think that was one thing we said we would do. And am I right? There's a one-pager as well, I think, following up. Isn't that right, Julian? There's a one-pager just to say what's the kind of high-level overview of the integration.
I think there is, absolutely. And again, for anything you've seen today that you think is of interest, obviously contact your Engage representative, contact your EssentialSkillz representative, and either of us from either side would be very happy to chat to you, or chat to you collaboratively if you want to have a three-way call or whatever.
Absolutely.
But we're here to help on both sides.
There is one question from Mary Doherty. Has anyone seen that?
Let's try and answer that. So before we finish up, here we go. So will the users be able to access both platforms from inside Engage, or was that just for the demo? So, well, if you're a customer of both providers, you would have access to both systems, but there's no direct access, I think this would be the right answer, Sean, from Engage straight across into EssentialSkillz. The connection, I guess, works in the background, so you don't have to log into the two systems. It pulls the information across, but obviously you need to be a customer of EssentialSkillz to use that LMS. Would that be?
Yeah, that's right. So Mary, for the demo, what I was doing was I was logged into Engage and I was logged into EssentialSkillz, and I was jumping around on the browser between the two to show the information in both places.
Yeah.
Exactly. But also, obviously, if you've got single sign-on, you can have nice, simple, straight-in logins into either of those systems as well using just single sign-on. So it could be just single clicks into both.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, there we go. That's it. That was fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Dara, Sean, as always, it's a pleasure talking to you, and thank you very much for everything you've done. From me, that's a goodbye. Thank you for joining, and I hope you will speak with one of our EssentialSkillz representatives shortly. I'll pass you over to Dara to give his goodbyes.
No, likewise, absolutely. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Stay safe out there and practice your social distancing, and happy to field any calls or any questions you guys have in relation to the platform as well. Great.
Absolutely. Stay safe.
Have a great Friday. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks.